Most people have heard the term MLS, but a lot of people don't know what an MLS actually is. So in today's episode, we're going to talk about an MLS, the way it started, and how it's evolved. Stay tuned. The Den, powered by the Lyons Group, a show dedicated to exploring hot topics in real estate, local happenings, and industry trends. We're a small team of professionals approaching $400 million in sales and nearly 2,000 local transactions. You're listening to time-tested experts and industry leaders. Here's a refreshing look at real estate happenings and more. Welcome to The Den. Hello, everyone. Welcome to this episode of The Den. And today we're going to be talking about an MLS. You may have heard the term, but it stands for Multiple Listing Service. And we're going to talk a little bit about what an MLS is, how it functions, how it works, and what are the benefits to the realtors and the consumers. But before I get to that, let me introduce my friends, my partners, my co-hosts, the fellow members of the Lyons Group. To my left, Paul, Hammy the Rockberry, Aspen the Ninja, Groen, and the boss, Shannon Martinez. My name is Ben, MPD Lyons. It's an acronym, Paul. Multiple personality disorder.
Yeah.
And it's real.
I was just going to say, you start a sentence and not know where it's going, right?
Yeah, I don't.
And then you just
It's like the
hope you find it.
And then just looks at Paul.
Yeah. And then goes, shut up.
Yeah.
I was like, what did I do?
The cosmos takes
Multiple personality.
Yeah, MPD.
Yeah.
But we're not talking about MPDs today. We're going to talk about the MLS, the Multiple Listing Service. Now, Shannon, you are the oldest or most long-standing. Follow me through this because I don't want to get in trouble. You are the oldest, most long-standing realtor in the room, correct? So you had your license.
Old in there.
Yeah, I know there.
I am the oldest.
Shut up, Paul. Yes, no, you are the youngest at heart, though, I would say, probably. I'm just trying to dig my
I was going to say that's a great backpedal.
So let's backpedal right into this. Back when the MLS started, you weren't anywhere alive there. But you got your license.
This is great.
This is terrible. This is going down. We're going down in flames quick here, people.
Let's just throw it out there, okay? I've been a part of the MLS since 97.
97. Okay. So you're only 4 years my senior. I
think in years I'm older than you, but in years
as far as a realtor is concerned. Now, tell me the difference between the MLS then and what it is today. And
it's magical today compared to what it used to be. So when I first got into the business, basically we had books, and books, they're irrelevant pretty quickly. So every month we would publish these massive books of everything, which was all of our information. And you would have your MLS book for the month, and you would save them. You would have catalogs and catalogs. So you could go back and look at sales and comps and things of that nature. So it would have everything that's currently on the market, which of course, by the time they were published was probably different. It would have everything that had sold, what it had sold for, that kind of information. So we had these books, but we did have an online system as well, where you could, enter just the basics of your listing, an address, a price, things like that, which actually helped when you could just get online, get into the database and say, I just want an address for all the 3 bedrooms, in Farmington. That was very helpful. One of the problems with it was DOS based. So you would get online and you would hear the bing, bing, that kind of stuff would go on. Then you would start entering your listing. Of course, your phone would ring and you'd go back and go,
it reset everything.
Got to start over again. Yeah. So that was the problem. But it was nice because we could run a hot sheet report every day and pin it up and say, we've got something new. Whether you didn't have to wait until someone drove by a neighborhood to see it, or you didn't have to wait until the book came out to say, here's some new listings. You knew every single day if there was new listings. So that back then it felt like we were cutting edge because we had the information at our fingertips all the time. Now, you look forward 20 some years and you realize now our MLS is real time, instant information. We can get it on our phone. We can get it anywhere. We can send it to a customer. We don't have to call them with it and give them some details. We can send it to them. They can look through photos. They can look through documents. They can look through the tax records. They can see what the seller has written about the property and their disclosures. If they can see a map, they can get driving directions from it. There is so much information there now that wasn't before. It's truly, when I say it's magical now, it is when people coming into the business now just take it for granted because that's how technology works, but you don't realize how much work used to go into gathering this kind of information. We can do a market analysis within, we break it down and we spend a lot of time digging into it, but you can pull up your comps in a matter of minutes. You can say, well, there's, 14 sales in your neighborhood, or there's been 2 sales in the last 6 months in your price range, or whatever. We have that information immediately.
And see the pictures and stuff. Because back then it was just, really the reality of it then was, it was basically a database. Yeah.
You didn't know that house looked like a dump. You didn't know that house was immaculate and
built.
You didn't know those things. You just had an address and a price. So you could say, okay, everything in Sunrise subdivision, I've got 3 comps here and this is what they are. How do you really break that down? Unless you call that broker and you say, was it this? Was it that? How long was this or that? What was your feedback from the customers? You can look online and it was under contract within, 2 days of hitting the market. You can tell so much more. You can look through and say, this property was cute. It was clean. Yeah, there's a big difference today than it was when it first started. Huge.
What are the primary functions of a MLS?
Well, we used to say to share compensation, but that's not the case anymore.
It's not the case anymore, yeah.
So now it's mainly just an information share. So it also feeds out to IDX feeds. IDX feeds are not real time. MLS is real time. IDX feeds can have a buffer time of 24 to 48 hours. So anytime you see a listing on your personal realtor's website, on Zillow, on realtor.com, on homes.com, it's all pulling from the MLS. So the MLS is the main source of information, and it helps with clear cooperation so we can all have access to the same information. So we're not just sharing it to certain people in certain offices. It's open for everybody who's licensed.
Yeah, I think that's evolved quite a bit over the years, because that's what used to be the argument, was that we would have these books or access to what was called Paragon back then. And that was our program that had all these listings in it. And if I was working with a buyer, I could say, well, I only want them to see these 3 or 4 homes. I don't want to show them these other ones. It was real tempting and easy for realtors back then to exclude properties and not show them everything that was on the market. Now, obviously, that was something that we never practiced. We always said, whatever's there, we're going to give you the full list, and you make the decision, consumer. But realtors could. They had ways to not show you the inventory. Now, that's really not the case. And as you said, Aspen, it's like the root is the MLS. The IDX feeds they syndicate out to the different websites and whatnot. And so everyone has access to that information at this point, unless it's an off-market listing, which is limited in nature anyways. So, Paul, over the years, what have you seen the changes in the MLS from when you came on board? Gosh, it's almost 8 years ago now.
Yeah, it feels like a lot longer. One of the things that we're changing at the association level is you're saying that there's a lag time with the syndication. Because we have an older system, so technology is changing all the time. We're trying to, incorporate a new system so that when it changes in the MLS, it changes to all the syndicated websites as well. That's called API Spark. And we've been working on it for years to try to get that going, but it's a big undertaking. We've had over the last few years, it used to be kind of the Wild West. You could put whatever pictures you want on there. You could say whatever you want. We've really gotten stricter on what we can put in there. We want it into the MLS kind of sanitized. It's just the facts, ma'am. And then after that, once it gets syndicated out, you can put it on social media. You can change pictures. You can put extra personal touches on it, whatever you want. But it starts out as the root, as just the basic things, as an ad for the seller. You can't put your own real estate logo on there. It's just selling the seller.
You can't even take a picture with a sign in front.
Nope. Or your dog.
Yeah. We get a lot of the dog photos in there. But yeah, so you can't take a picture with a sign in front that says, hey, Ben Lyons, and there's the house behind it, because it syndicates out. What Paul's saying is you want that route as sterile and clean as possible. Mm-hmm. Correct me if I'm wrong.
That's exactly right. Because if you're putting your own branding on it and then it goes out to somebody else and they're syndicating off their website, they want their customers to see their branding and not the listing agent's branding. Mm-hmm. So we've really had a lot of arguments about this too, but I think we have it in a good place now. It's across the board. Everybody's playing by the same rules. One of the other things, and you might take this conversation, is your area of operation, like the boundaries of your MLS. We've made some changes to that, if you want to.
Yeah, that's been a discussion for a few years. So something we did 3 years ago is on the board level, we removed Colorado and any outside areas of the MLS, which in theory sounded good. I was pretty vocal against it because we live right on the border of so many different places. And if you're licensed in that area and you have access to sell in that area, if you have someone looking on the border and you can see, oh, this one right here, right across the border is for sale as well, you might not be able to sell it, but you can still give it to your client. You can put them in touch with a realtor. You can use it for a comp if you need it, if it's, right in the same neighborhood, just right outside of the boundary lines. So we did have that removed for about 3 years now. It turns out that wasn't the best decision, so we're bringing it back. So we do have a little bit more parameters on it. It used to be you could list anyone from anywhere in the MLS, but now we're doing basically any county that touches us, then you're able to list that as well.
Oh, that would be interesting to see that play out a little bit.
Well, and there's a way to filter out counties. So if you only want to look at San Juan County, you can take everything else out. And I think one of the things that kind of threw us a few years ago was, it might have been your listing. It was a 3-bed, 2-bath, 1,200 square foot house in Durango for
it was
$650.
$650, yeah. And the issue with that though is people were saying comps. It's skewing our comps. If you're using my Durango house for your comp in town in Farmington, then you're probably not doing your job.
Right.
Yeah, you don't know what you're doing.
You're not even using one in Kirtland or Aztec. Why are you using my listing 45 miles away for that? So that was my thing. And then they were saying, well, it's skewing our numbers here. And I'm like, no, it's not, because we're not using that county's information.
But are they referring to maybe the sold component? So
they're saying the sold, but you can filter it to San Juan County. You don't have to have La Plata County in there.
Well, I think we're going to lay down some truth here. I think it was people's stats that was the bigger problem.
I agree.
So I don't think it was necessarily comps or anything like that. I think it was more, we don't want extra stats in the MLS to boost your numbers. So that's the other thing about the MLS. We can actually see, which a lot of people have heartburn about, what other realtors are doing. So like how much your production is, and I can base my business off of your, or how I market myself based off of who, what position I am in the rankings of those around me. And some people really hold on to that tightly.
Yeah, to me, that was such a silly argument too, because I'm sure everyone in this room has done deals off market that are not showing up on the stats, because sometimes sellers don't want their homes on the internet. They don't want their address listed. They don't want pictures of the inside of their house. They want to keep it private. Those sell off market. We can only sell them, clear cooperation. We can still only sell them in the office. There's parameters on what we can do, but we've all sold stuff that does not ever show online. So to me, that was also a silly argument. I know some people hate that our numbers are shown, and honestly, I don't disagree. What other job can you see what other people are? You can kind of guesstimate what they're making. It doesn't show exactly what we made, but it is kind of a weird thing. But I agree. I think it was mainly the stats that was the issue.
So with the two MLSs, and maybe for our viewers, we can talk about like who governs the MLS. What's the body that governs the MLS, and how does that function and move?
She does.
So why don't you expand on that a little bit? Yeah.
So in our board, we have an MLS and technology committee, and the committee gives suggestions to the executive committee, and then the executive committee can take it to the board, or they can give it directly to the board, and then the board votes on it. So it is a well-represented, vote of people in different offices who have been in it for different years. They're all voted on by members. So our board is always moving and fluctuating with different people from our membership. You can't have more than 4 people in an office on the board. There's rules to make it fair for everybody, which is great because you get a lot of feedback of things you might not have been able to think of. So the MLS and technology committee handles the brunt of it, and then the board decides the official yes.
And the board is made up of solely active realtors that are elected by their peers.
Yep.
And like you said, they come from different representations, different offices, different opinions, different backgrounds. And so you really do have a good mix of people that are governing the MLS.
Yeah, and the day-to-day governance or the monitoring, we have an MLS coordinator who is a paid full-time staff member, and she monitors all new listings that go in, make sure that they are in compliance. When statuses change, all of those things, she closes out the deals, and she does a fantastic job.
Yeah, because we have regulations that we have to adhere to for the general public and for ourselves, because we are one of those organizations in NAR. Being a realtor, we self-police. And so, there are tactics there's always loopholes that people are, you get a bunch, you get 200 or 300 type A personalities and stick them in a room, and there you've got realtors, right? So, and we're always trying to push the envelope, and some of us are trying to, find the loopholes, and some are trying to bend the rules. And so you have to have someone there that's gatekeeping that stuff. Otherwise, it's just willing. It's like the Wild West. It really has been a lot of loopholes that have been closed over the years because we, as realtors, we always push the envelope. Imagine that.
And if there's any violation in the MLS, normally the MLS coordinator just sends out an email asking them to fix it within 24 hours. If they don't do that, there's a fine structure in
Talk
place.
about some of the violations for the MLS.
This week.
Yeah. Madam President.
I got thrown in. It's normally little silly stuff. So we have a rule that you can't have a sign up in a yard more than 24 hours prior, or any advertising in general. So you can't list it on your social media. You can't do a coming soon. You can't do any of this stuff unless it's 24 hours and then you list it. So we've had an issue with signs being in the yard. I actually had to send the next step. So not just an email, now it's a letter because they didn't take the signs down when they were supposed to. We have people using terminology they're not allowed to pretty often. You're not allowed to say it's by churches. You can't do anything like walkable, or there's just a lot of rules that a lot of it slips through the cracks, and most of it kind of is,
But why can't you say stuff like that for our viewers?
That's for fair housing. So you can't say something's walkable because just because it's walkable for you doesn't mean it's walkable for everybody. You can't say master bedroom. We say primary bedroom. So there's a whole list of words that you can't say. And then on our side, we can't list any compensation. So anywhere in the MLS, so if someone uploads a document, the public might not be able to see it, but we can still see it. So that is actually an instant fine thing. So there are a few things that are like, absolutely can't do that. People trying to upload pictures where even if maybe they're taking a cell phone picture of the listing and then you can see them in the bathroom. You can't do that, like the bathroom mirror, so you can't do that.
Oh, so that's been outlawed now.
Yep.
Well, I didn't realize that.
Nothing that could identify, no identifying anything in the MLS. Yeah.
Well, and we had, I think last year, we were doing videos. So videos in the MLS can't be directly uploaded. There's a link that goes to an external. So anything external can have your branding on it. But then as soon as it goes into the MLS, then we figured out it was a violation because it's all branded.
In fact, anything external has to have your branding on it because that's our rules. If you're a realtor, you have to follow the rules. Even if it's not on the MLS, you still can't use the terminology. So we kind of had to adjust our stuff this year. If it's linked to YouTube and they have their information in the description of YouTube, is that considered a violation? And ultimately we decided no, it wasn't, as long as it's not in the actual video, because that's what's showing up on the MLS, not the link, because you can press play directly from the MLS. So, but if you upload your video with your branding, it's getting removed.
Things have gotten a lot more complicated than when we started, Shannon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No more dial-up. No more dial-up. It's totally different.
Books, huh?
Yeah.
We would literally have books. Like, you got the book, this week's books? Yeah.
Tell you what, my father, this had nothing to do with real estate, I guess, but he was a paper recycling. He worked at a paper recycling mill. And back home in New England, there's a lot of paper mills, a lot of printing presses. And I was working there one summer in the late 90s, and internet had come out, and we got truckloads and truckloads of those books where the printing presses were closing down because the internet was taking over. Yeah. And we would I remember all those books. But what I do miss is the open house section of the paper. I don't even get the paper anymore. But I remember I used to go, that's a nice, and that's what we used to do on the weekends.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I remember Cheryl Ragsdale shared an ad that she had in the paper. I think it was in the 90s or early 2000s, and it was kind of cool to see.
Yeah. We would spend thousands
and hours just designing and working on it, trying to have the best, our best foot forward.
All your
Sunday
glamour
paper.
shots.
That's right. For the Sunday paper had to look good.
Yeah.
It had to be right on
How
point.
come we've never seen any of your glamour shots?
I never did glamour shots.
She looks the same. She's looked the same for 40 years.
I never did glamour shots.
Geez, you call her old, then you're
I'm going to get beat after
you're gonna
this.
get. You might during the episode.
If there is a chalk line of a body out in our parking lot after this episode, you'll know who it is.
Mm-hmm.
Just try to skinny up my hips a little bit, would you?
Right. I'll try to make you look good. I can say though, for all the changes as far as it comes today, all the work, all the compliance and things that we do really is a good finished product for the consumer. Like to your point, back in the day when we held all the information, I didn't, but as a realtor, I could withhold information from other people. I can't do that anymore. I could withhold information from the customer and not show them something, and that cannot happen anymore. The customers have information. They have, like I said, disclosures from the sellers. They have pictures of the house. They have videos. They have everything they want before they ever go look at that property. And that ultimately is the best case scenario. And having your realtor have access to all that information to do a market analysis for you or help you write an offer, the consumer is just better off with how much it's evolved over the years and all the work that's been put into nitpicking
the more
detail.
information, the better. I mean, I think it just really empowers.
And it's in the hands of everyone now. It's not just in the house. We're not as powerful as we used to be. The public can see what their house is sold for next door.
Yeah, but it's also shifted in the sense of we may not hold the same power as we had before with all the information. That's okay. I like more transparency. But also, you need someone to interpret this information.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, the algorithms and stuff, they kick out these things, but there's no context to those.
True.
The numbers, employing a strategy at the same time.
Yeah.
Is where
I just feel like that when the consumer can have that in their hand and have that transparency, with what we're telling them is just a win. It's a win for the public.
I agree. How do you see it changing over the next? So when you two become dinosaurs.
I was just going to say, we haven't been a part of much of this conversation. You guys have been talking about the past.
Yeah. Let's bring it to the future. What does it look like moving forward?
I have no idea, because even with the big list of things we're not allowed to say, I agree with most of them. Some of them I think are reaching. If we just keep adding in and adding in and adding in, where it's too overregulated, then I think you can get into some issues where you're not being transparent anymore because you're so overregulating. I think we're very much in a sweet spot right now. I honestly don't know. One thing I'd like to see is more user-friendly apps. I think we have a really good one here in San Juan County. We do not have a good app with the MLS in Colorado. I would love to see that. Yeah.
Is that for consumers or realtors?
Realtors.
So just for realtors.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, I would love to see consumer apps too, but honestly, as a consumer, I don't want any more apps. Do not send me an app. Don't make me get an app. I don't want it. So I think for realtors, it's really nice just to have everything right at your fingertips. You can look at the map and see what's right around you. You can do all of this on the computer as well. But sometimes when you're out there and they're like, I love this area. What else is here? I didn't know I was going to like this so much. It's nice to be able to see, what's right there. And you can do it. It's just a little bit more. Yeah.
Or they say, hey, look, it looks like there's been some roof damage. Is there a disclosure?
Exactly.
And you can pull it up on your app and say, here's a disclosure.
So there is ways you can get on the full website, but that's really kind of hard to do on your phone. So I'd love to see that. As far as technology changing though, that's where I'm kind of almost a dinosaur, because I'm like, I cannot picture anything in the future.
Right.
This is it.
I think, right now we have some CAD drawings, or what do you say?
Those
layout, 3D drawings.
I think there's probably going to be some AI where you can walk through the house with VR glasses.
Yeah. I think some more virtual tours or things like that. I think that's going to come out. Right now it's a little bit expensive and not necessary for everything. We've done a lot of drone work. I think there'll be a little bit more of that, but I think there's going to be more virtual tours.
I think so too. And that's one thing, again, as a consumer, I don't like. I get really car sick, and those VR glasses make me so sick. But I think that's going to be the next thing where you don't even go look at a house anymore. You just do the virtual. They're probably not in any time very soon, but that will probably be, you see 10 houses, you look through them with the VR, and your top 1, 2, you actually go see in person. I think that will probably be a change.
Yeah, the software that we're using right now is pretty clunky. So I think there's going to be some advances in that.
Well, that's fascinating to think about. Like, hey, I got my virtual glasses on. I just saw 10 houses. Hey, honey, come see the top 3.
Yeah.
These are the ones I like. What do you think?
Take your Dramamine first.
Yeah. I mean, sky's the limit when it comes to this. But do you really think that with the advent of Realtor.com and Zillow and Redfin and some of these other things, how important is it to still have the MLS?
I think you have to have a base or a route because it has to be somewhat regulated, especially for housing.
You don't want to upload to each individual website. I mean,
and you do want the quality control. You do want everything comes from that one place, and you do want that to be our quality control. What we decide is the good information to put out.
And I don't want to go on one website to look at this house, another website to look at this house. I want everything in one area. It's much easier. We have a very good MLS here, I think.
Yeah, I think it's well run. I think the information. I mean, we're really thoughtful with the things that we implement. There's a lot of debate before things change in the MLS, and then of course there's constant stuff that pops up, just like the mirror thing. Taking a picture with a mirror, and I can't be bare chested with it says Lyons Group on there. And, take a picture.
It's like those prom pictures where you get to catch the mirror in the dad's.
But all good things and all thoughtfully done. And we've been really good here locally to steer the direction of the board in a good and productive way to allow a free and fair market to happen. So, let the competition ensue. Any final thoughts on the future of the MLS? We're winding down on time. Shannon, do you think we're going to go back to books?
No.
No, we're not going to regress.
I don't think that'll ever happen. No.
We'll all retire.
Yeah. But I'm with Aspen. I don't know of anything that could make it better. I mean, I don't have any visions out there of it growing. Yeah. I'm sure it will, but
I'm still thinking we're going to have those prime, what are the
robots?
The robot Optimus
in
every house.
I will not go in that house.
Yeah. Open the door.
Well, yeah, she's afraid of electronics.
Well, great discussion on the MLS. Hopefully our viewers have a little bit more well-rounded sense of what the MLS is, how it operates, how it benefits the clients or consumers that are looking for that information, and how keeping a good route, and I hate to use the word sterile, but a sterile route to allow for a good syndication process out to all these other websites, Zillows and Realtor.coms and things like that. So you have a good flow of correct and accurate information that represents the property, I think is a key component to having a good MLS. So thank you for listening to this episode. If you like our content, please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Go to our Facebook page. We have Instagram. We have TikTok. And usually Paul is the TikTok king, but Aspen is the TikTok queen. She had a chicken recipe go. What do you got? 2.4 million?
2.4 million. Yep.
Yeah. So if you need to go viral, just cook some chicken and throw it on Aspen's TikTok channel. You can always go to sjcbroker.com, schedule a private consultation with anyone here at the Lyons Group. We'd love to sit down with you and talk about advantages in today's market. Whether you're buying or selling residential or commercial, we can help you in a big way. Thank you for listening to this episode of The Den. Until next time, we'll see you then. Thank you for listening to The Den, powered by the Lyons Group. Hit the subscribe button to keep informed on real estate happenings. If you'd like to learn more about the Lyons Group, visit sjcbroker.com. Complex markets require complex strategies. The Lyons Group can give you a true advantage in any market. Whether you're buying or selling, residential or commercial, contact us directly at sjcbroker.com. We're time-tested experts with a client-first approach, and we'll see you next time in The Den.